Honestly, I actually kind of have to use the walls, so you know.
Yeah, that's where I was today. I didn't think I needed a wall.
If I don't use-
Do you want anything with the yoga?
If I don't use the wall, then I struggle and I'll just want to lay down, so, yeah.
It is a good place to practice from. We don't have the sound of the road, because I have the window open. Figured got some fresh air and this morning. So great.
Can't wait for pollen season to be over, so I can open my window.
I have made the mistake of having it open, well, whatever. It's not too bad this year. I don't
No.
find it to be, do you?
Just looking out on my deck, I see, yes.
Ah,
We just have so many trees, so it's
we do.
long. Yeah, so many trees, so much pollen.
Yeah, we cars, everything. Everything turns light green. I remember when I lived in North Carolina, I would be able to sweep up huge piles of, there was so many trees where were just huge piles of pollen from like a porch area. It was pretty good. So how was everyone this morning? Pretty good. Alright. Those of you that came to Kirtan Wednesday night, you enjoyed it. I'm still singing. Don't think we ever stop.
No, I never do. No.
I'd be at another melody then. I'm going. They just keep on coming. I've inspired Josh to pick up the guitar. I was like, we really, although we supposedly have Ed, and Josh, come on and play the guitar.
Has he ever played before?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like Josh has done a little bit of everything. All right, let me grab the blooming of a lotus, which will do our meditation from. But I wanted to introduce some thoughts this morning. I love this book. I have a Garbage Pail Kid card in here. Gray spray. I don't even know why. There's a lot of things. There's my original notes, like from when I started teaching yoga 15 years ago. Like the notes
I was gonna say that garbage pail kid could not be Jules.
right? No. So we're going into a little intense, well, I guess it could be considered a little intense mode this morning of contemplation. In my studies, I'm beginning to finally formally study the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Which Bob Thurman will say it's actually the book of liberation and living, right? It's designed to guide us through the stages of death, but also inspire a more fulfilling life, right? That's really what awareness of death is supposed to support, right? It's a deeper awareness of living fully, right? And that everything that we do in this life, it matters now and it matters as we continue on after. Which I mean, it makes total sense, right? And like the Dalai Lama will talk about that when we choose, I guess it would be optimism or the things we talk, the qualities that we talk about, happiness, joy, health, then we don't suffer as much, like we have a choice, and one of the quotes, or not even a quote, a video of the Dalai Lama speaking, I think it was yesterday, he said. That we have a choice, like we choosing optimism, build self-confidence, which we've talked about. And patience was another one that he said, you know, especially the younger generation, he said they need patience, because not everything, we already know, nothing happens instantly. But I love that, you know, that it is always, you wake up every day and then you have the choice, we can be miserable. Or we can choose to work toward whatever the quality is that we want to, peace, joy, happiness, optimism, whatever the word is, so. And to recognize that we are an infinite continuation. Right, there's no fixed soul per se, I guess, in like Tibetan Buddhism. But there is a soul that continues on, and so everything we do matters. And that is, I feel like that alleviates a lot, I guess maybe for some people it could cause a little anxiety at first to think about. But I think that eventually it cultivates a sense of happiness, you know, where we're just like, it's that the wheel that just keeps on turning, right? And so if it keeps on turning, we know that what we choose every single day affects the next day and the next day and on infinitely. Then you start to choose a little bit differently. And so as I was listening to him talk about the history, I guess, of the Tibetan Book of the Dead and why it was created and how it was created, I started to, well, actually a friend of mine kind of popped into my head, someone that was actually a member here. She was one of the first members of Joy. I don't know if you remember Joanne Monahan. Way, like literally first 6 months of opening, she started coming here. And I had no idea. I mean, she was like a member and we had like a relationship. Do you remember her?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a relationship and just like I felt like I had with all of my students and then she stopped coming and I don't know if I reached out to her or she reached out to me, but she ended up being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And she was like very inspired by yoga and coming to classes and everything. And so we developed a different kind of relationship because she wanted me to, as time went by, I think it was like a year and a half or something, to support her through her dying process. So she came to mind, she comes to mind often because she had an association with bluebirds and I have a bluebird tattoo and I don't know, we just had we developed a really special relationship. And so I was like, I wonder, it reminded me of the last time that I spent with her where she was not, you know, she was sleeping a lot. So I don't know, maybe she woke up a few more times after the last time that I saw her, but we, you know, I kind of met her in meditation, right, in that higher state of consciousness, and we did a journey together and I wrote it down for her. And I was like, I wonder if I wrote that in my notes. It's from 2019. So January 22nd, 2019 is when I wrote this in my notes because I didn't want to forget the experience. So I'm going to read this experience. And I found it interesting because it was before I came to start to learn about like the ins and outs of what I'm learning now, like with the Tibetan Buddhism. And there's always like this association of blue light, clear light. And you'll see when I read what happened when we did that journey that she like was blue and there's so much blue. So I feel like she was like, you know, an enlightened being. She was very aware through this process. So if you want to, you can close your eyes and listen. And then this will just segue right into our meditation. Which is, you know, it's going to go a little bit deeper because of this conversation. And all this is really is an opportunity to notice how you feel, when I read this meditation and you're reflecting on the words. It's okay if it feels uncomfortable, or if it feels comfortable and you're like, oh, why does that feel comfortable? Whatever it is, right? Just always that gentleness when you meditate, gentle with yourself and just allowing things to unfold as they unfold. And then we'll come out of it and have a conversation. So like I said, for now, if you want to close your eyes while I read this little blurb of our experience together. It was an honor and an absolute privilege to spend time with Joanne before she passed away. We were in each other's lives for about 4 years. She was way stronger than pancreatic cancer until she wasn't. It was kind of like she decided she had done enough work and could finally let go. We would email each other and check in about every 6 months. She always felt like I was good karma in her life for whatever reason. I was her yoga teacher for a little while before she was diagnosed. Then Joanne would come for Reiki, and it was one of the only things that gave her relief from her pain. She even said it helped her breathe easier. We'd gone about 6 to 8 months with no contact, and I had the urge to reach out, not knowing if she had already moved on, but to my happy surprise, I heard back. She was on hospice at home. I asked her if I could come visit her, and she said yes. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew what I had learned and practiced about being with someone that is dying. I had done it once before with a stranger many years ago. I remember it being slightly odd and a little uncomfortable. But when I showed up for Joanne, we chatted and I asked her how she felt about dying. She opened up to me about some things that she felt she couldn't share with her kids. Then she asked me to do Reiki, so I did. We set an intention of peace for the session, and when we were done, she asked if I'd take the journey with her, for her and for me. Of course, I accepted. I wanted nothing more than to just be whatever she needed during her transition. So for about 5 weeks, I visited her once a week. Her body grew tired and her soul grew strong. I would ask her if she had anything to talk about before each Reiki session. Sometimes she would speak of her fears of leaving everyone behind. Other times she would talk about who she wanted to pray for. I asked her what she wanted to be when she died. She said she wanted to be blue. This made perfect sense to me because of her connection to the Blessed Mother and mine to the healing Buddha, but both and our combined connection to the bluebird, one of which I have tattooed on my chest. So I said, okay, you'll be blue and you will heal and watch over everyone you love. She loved the idea, and she agreed. One of the last times we talked, we went into our session and I felt like I didn't want her to go. I was failing at my job of being present for her. I could feel the sadness of losing her, and we opened our eyes at the same time, and she told me she could feel my hooks sinking in. She smiled and I said, I know. I played her the song In Dreams by Jai Jagdish. We kind of laughed and she looked at me with compassion, like it was okay for me to be feeling that way. I cried that day as I drove away. I sent her the song that I had played to her daughters, to have it played through her daughter's phone, and she let me know that her mom played it. Oh, to her daughter, and she let me know that her mom played it for her and was sending it to her friends and loved ones to comfort them during this time. She pressed on and I had a couple more visits. Her body was very tired. Her grown children lovingly supported her every need. It was beautiful to witness. At one point, I watched her son carry her down the stairs after our session, and Joanne was almost against it, but we encouraged her to enjoy the ride. She had earned it. Her son picked her up and cradled her like a baby as he carefully carried her down. She gave me a kissing ball as a reminder of her that day. Her daughter, attentive to her every need, spoken and unspoken, birds at the bird feeder, love filled home. A week later, I asked if I could visit, and her daughter said yes. She loves your energy. She thinks of you as a spiritual guide. I showed up at our scheduled time and Joanne was sleeping. I told her daughter to let her sleep and I'd sit with her and meditate. I sat by her bed and it took a bit to calm my mind. I tried to purify my thoughts for her. I held her hand and placed my other hand on her knee and met her in meditation and asked her to take me on an adventure. Off we went. She was blue and free, and we flew over oceans and saw the sun setting. We healed, and it felt all-consuming joy. I honestly don't remember the exact adventure, but it was her soul and it was pure. I wrote it all down for her when I opened my eyes. I left it with her daughter, and she sent me this text later. Hi, thank you again for meditating with Mom this morning. She is awake and peaceful right now. I read her your note and she smiled the whole time. And then a few days after that, hi, how are you? Did I tell you? Mom had me read your letter about your journey twice. December 30th, after a few health updates, I received this message. Hi, Jennifer, my mom passed away this morning. It was quick and peaceful, and she was with family when it happened. I imagine she is soaring over the ocean in her journey like you, like the one she took with you. Thank you for being so kind and a great friend to her. As you connect with your breath now, it's that realization that we're all on that journey. And we get to choose how we want to take the journey in some ways. And how we want to continue on. And hopefully, as you sit right now and you bring your awareness to your heart, you feel that it's wide open. That really love and compassion and just being present to whatever is presented in your life is the most important thing that you can do. Aware of myself as made up of what is not myself. Vapor, water, air, ancestors, habits, society, economics. I breathe in. Seeing that my everyday perception of myself as a separate entity is an error. I breathe out. Aware of the human species as an animal species, though it has a culture and has become sovereign of the earth, I breathe in. Seeing that the human species cannot exist without the animal, vegetal, and mineral species, I breathe out. Seeing the presence of the human species and the presence of the animal, vegetal, and mineral species, I breathe in. Seeing that my idea of myself as belonging to a separate independent species is an error, I breathe out. Aware of all animal species as subject to birth and death, with feelings and consciousness, I breathe in. Seeing that the animal species cannot exist without the presence of the vegetal and mineral species, the sun, the water, and the air I breathe out. Seeing the presence of an animal species and the presence of a non-sentient species like plants, minerals, sun, water, and air I breathe in. Seeing that my everyday perception of an animal is an error, I breathe out. Aware of my life beginning at my birth and ending with my death, I breathe in. Seeing what I was already present, that I was already present before my birth in many different forms, and that I shall be present when I die in many forms. The sun, the water, the air, the earth, ancestors, descendants, habits, society, economics, I breathe out. My beginning, my ending. No beginning, no ending. No beginning, no ending. No beginning, no ending. Seeing that my lifespan is not bounded by the span of my birth and death, I breathe in. Seeing that my perception of a lifespan is an error, I breathe out. My beginning, my ending. No beginning, no ending. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Aware of myself picking up an autumn leaf, I breathe in. Touching the wonderful interdependent nature of that leaf, I breathe out. Aware of myself alive here and now, I breathe in. Touching the wonderful interdependent nature of life in me and around me, I breathe out. Aware of the leaf returning to the earth and arising as a new leaf, I breathe in. Seeing a leaf in 10,000 different forms of birth and death, I breathe out. Aware of myself as part of the wonderful interdependent existence, I breathe in. Seeing that, I become manifest under many different forms, I breathe out. Seeing that the leaf is not really born, does not really die, but only appears to be born and die, I breathe in. Seeing that I do not really pass through birth and death, but only appear to, I breathe out. Seeing that the leaf has accomplished its work from beginningless time, I breathe in. Seeing that I have accomplished my work from beginningless time, I breathe out. Seeing that the leaf is already what it wants to become, I breathe in. Seeing that I am already what I want to become, I breathe out. aware of myself picking up an autumn leaf. I breathe in. Touching the wonderful interdependent nature of that leaf. I breathe out. Picking up leaf. Interdependent nature. Alive here, now. Interdependent life in and around me. Aware of myself, alive, here and now. I breathe in. Touching the wonderful interdependent nature of life in me and around me, I breathe out. Aware of the leaf returning to the earth and arising as a new leaf, I breathe in. Seeing a leaf in 10,000 different forms of birth and death, I breathe out. Aware of myself as part of the wonderful interdependent existence, I breathe in. Seeing that I become manifest under many different forms, I breathe out. Seeing that the leaf is not really born, does not really die, but only appears to be born and die, I breathe in. Seeing that I do not really pass through birth and death, but only appear to, I breathe out. Seeing that the leaf has accomplished its work from beginningless time, I breathe in. Seeing that I have accomplished my work from beginningless time, I breathe out. Seeing that the leaf is already what it wants to become, I breathe in. Seeing that I am what I want to become, I breathe out. Seeing that the leaf is already what it wants to become, I breathe in. Seeing that I am already what I want to become, I breathe out. Breathing in. Breathing in. Continuing on your own for a bit. on my body. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I know it is a wonderful moment. Smile. Present moment. Wonderful moment. Breathing in. Breathing in. Breathing in and calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in. Breathing in. Breathing in. I dwell in the present moment. Breathing in. I know it is a wonderful moment. Present moment. Wonderful moment. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I calm my body. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing in, I know it is a wonderful moment. Breathing out, I know it is a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I know it is a wonderful moment. Smile. Present moment. Wonderful moment. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Um. Smile. Present moment. Wonderful. Continuing with this form of meditation or taking your indestructible posture for some purification breath and energizing breath. We're taking our posture, Vairochana, we take our thumb to the base of the ring finger, folding the other four fingers over, tucking fists up at the crease in the legs, sitting up as tall as we can to open the channels. It's okay if the shoulders lift, drop the chin. Imagine the spine as a stack of golden coins. Maybe a Buddha appears above your head to connect with inner wisdom. Ease and lightness of body as of our meditation. And beautiful rainbow light that we become, that we are always, but we remember right now. The intention that we're gathering the qualities that no longer serve us, like anger, attachment, delusion, ignorance. As we breathe, we might see white, red, blue smoke that eventually turns to rainbow light as we purify the channels. When you're ready, using the index fingers to guide the energy, gently block the left nostril and inhale through the right side. We inhale, it comes down below the navel, rises up the left side. Block the right nostril, exhale left. Inhale left. Come down, under and up the right side, blocking left, exhale right. Both nostrils, inhale. They come down and rise up the central channel, exhale. Left nostril with block, inhale right, rainbow light, bring it down. Up the left side, block right, exhale left. Inhale left. Rises up the right side, block left, exhale right. Inhale both sides. Bring it down to that point below the navel, let it rise up the central channel, exhale. Last round, block left, inhale right. Comes down the right side, then rises up the left. Blocking right, exhale left. Inhale left. Let it rise up the right. Block left, exhale right. Inhale to both sides. Let it rise up, central channel, exhale. Come back to your posture when you're ready. Take a moment. Witnessing the purification. focus on the point below the navel, so navel and pelvic floor, that's our base. So when we breathe, we feel that area fill. And we feel the point above the navel pressing down toward the abdomen, so we're just filling the base, these are not big deep breaths. So remember that we fill, we inhale. Like a bow and arrow, on the exhale, we shoot the arrow. So we leave air in there, we're filling the base with pure energy, we're exhaling the gross energy. So 5 to 7 times-ish. After you inhale, you hold the breath for as long as you can comfortably. You ready? Hold your posture, but relax the breath. Just meditating here. Glorified, energized place. Reconnected to. We allow the image of the Buddha to dissolve into our hearts. As we move into loving kindness, you might imagine now the heart is wide open and this radiates out to all beings, repeating after me, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings know joy and the causes of joy.
May all beings know joy and the causes of joy.
May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings know joy and the causes of joy.
May all beings know joy and the causes of joy.
May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings know joy and the causes of joy.
May all beings know joy and the causes of joy.
Hands to heart center. We dedicate the merit of our practice today to continuing to enlighten our body, speech, and mind for the benefit of all beings. Taking whatever form of bow that you feel called to. The awareness that when we gather like this, we're gathering from the heart, we're choosing to be together in this way and choosing the people that we want to spend time with and do this work with, the interdependent nature of that. When we say namaste, we're recognizing the light in one another. And we're recognizing that when I am in that place in me and you are in that place in you, there's only one of us. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. I hadn't actually read through that whole thing since ever. That was really good.
Very emotional.
Mm,
Yeah, it's very emotional.
yeah.
Beautiful experience, you know.
It really was, yeah. And it's so cool every year, every spring when the bluebirds come around, you know, and it's like, there she is. It's Joanne. She really chose. And such a reflection of how we live, you know. So we have a few minutes. I'm definitely curious to hear from you and your meditation experience, the whole experience, you know, like what, it's not something we explore very often in our culture, talking about death, you know, unfortunately. We're all gonna do it.
It definitely felt really nice to cry. Like, it was so beautiful, so the tears were just coming very nicely out and they fell right onto my chest, right? And like just letting them hit the heart. Feel like I love that practice when I don't want to wipe away or because personally that was a little hard for me. I didn't get to do any of that when my dad was dying. And I felt a little jealous.
Mm,
And then almost immediately that went away
mm,
because of the space in which we are in. That is not the point. And so that was really beautiful. Because it's when the tears came that it didn't matter what I didn't get to do, it mattered that I was hearing the story.
Yeah.
And that I can live with no regret. Because that's the point of this practice, right? We're changing the way that we're living. So that's really like what it brought up for me. And so it was actually kind of hard, I think, to get into the take meditation in ways
mhm,
because I was very like in the heaven and the heart. And so I really enjoyed that you had such an earth-based passage from the blooming of the lotus. It was very, very supportive for the work that needed to be done.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and then the purification breath just rounds it all out.
Yeah.
So just it was a really, really special session.
Mm. Thank you.
That really hit me too. I was interested because I was talking about my mom, right?
Yeah,
And I lost my dad when I was 5, so I'm trying to, I was living my home when I was like 28. It was already kind of pretty sort of sensitized to it. So this has kind of been my work now as an adult. I realize is that I have a lot of walks around death and grief and moving beyond that.
mhm,
So, because immediately at like I didn't enjoy the tears. I wanted to wipe them away, but couldn't stop them, so. It was very touching, it made me realize. It's interesting that I'm here now. Doing this work. Yeah. A lot of that has been coming up for me this week especially. I'm like, what I'm meant to be doing.
And so then we brought up a lot that I'm thinking about. My dad passed when I was 15. And it was. But kind of pushed it all away. My mom was very emotional, and so I've just been realizing the past several years, none of us, there's 5, 7, we never talked about her if she would start crying. So we lost all those memories. And an aunt I was very close to, and she was always great at telling stories. She actually passed the pancreatic cancer 8 years ago, more ago.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just bringing all that up and the journey you took with your friend and I think I'm in the same place in terms of trying to just heal from all of this grief that I kept locked up. I think I'm on now being sick. Even though I don't always get along with her, that's probably what started bringing a lot of that up. Me and doing this work here. So this was very. I had a head full of dead. I was thinking of my grandmothers and just the people that were big influences. Yeah. And it's nice to kind of put them in a way that's not.
Yeah.
Pain's still there, but it's nice to be able to start working on turning it around. Same thing with doing friends, like I wish my team. I hadn't been afraid to have a conversation. Yeah, I couldn't talk to him. Cause he would have,
Yeah.
that's when that was.
It's hard. Like even, she wasn't my family, and I remember feeling like uncomfortable asking her that question, but I'm like, it's literally what's happening. You know what I mean? And she wants me to be here for it, so. And I was so glad that I did, You're making, all these conversations are making me wonder, and I'm going to find out. If it's, I'm sure that it is, but I wanna just make sure there's a process that you can do when someone. Is dying or has passed, that's sort of like a ritual. To be able to do it, I know it's been a long time, since your loved ones have passed, but. I just wanna get confirmation that it's okay to do no matter how long it's been, cause I don't think that time and space really matters, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's okay, but when I get that, I would love to. Like, set up another time where we can actually do that together, cause I think it can be really. Healing and freeing on both ends of the, both sides of the coin for you and for them, so. I'm gonna check on that and get back to you.
I've had like a fascination with death since I can remember. And I think it's because one of the things might be because my grandmother died. And I was 7, she'd fallen down the stairs. From her arm, and then it was really cancer, but they didn't know about it. So it was very brief, like 3 months. She, and I spent a lot of time with her, so it was the youngest. And she was. I mean, my mother was there, my aunt was there, and 2 other sisters and my father, but I spent a lot of time with her in between them. Because we're talking about the grandmothers. She was
Right.
she wasn't afraid. So some of my cousins were nurses. They had, she was being ready. some of my cousins are nurses and spent time with the team, so I don't know if it was like all that support. And so I've always had this fascination, I haven't had a, you know, fear of death, because I think it was, I wrote my mother a letter, and she kept it, and then she showed me many years later, stuff I wrote to her, she went into like, grief and depression, and that, for her not to be sad. You were a husband, and my mother had twins, and I cited, I'll bring it in.
Yeah.
But my mother didn't talk a lot, but she kept it, so she had story it, because her father, she was young, and she had that experience that her brother, who was the youngest of the four girls, but he had the man of the house, so they gathered together and totally couldn't cry. He totally had strong, and so she didn't cry a lot, but she ended, so to fast forward that, I was always fascinated by that. And then to fast forward, my mother and father both died, I'm a nurse, so my mother and father both died at home, my mother died in my arms. And my father, with one of my best, his friends, Nancy friends, you know, with one of my best Nancy friends. She's a nurse too, she came, my family was there, but they couldn't, you know, there was like these big. Those double powers that you had with the French doors in between, and my mother was on one side, and my father, my sisters, their husbands, they were all there, but they couldn't. They were there, but they were talking, and it was Nancy and me, and Nancy called me at 5 o'clock at night, and said, who's gonna help you? And I said, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. It was a hospice kit and all that, and she came over, she worked at Mass General, she came over, and all night long, like we bathed her, we turned her. We just, I mean, it was like hands of love, and before my mother passed, I saw that look on her face, you know, like the transcendent, she didn't say anything, but she just like glowed, you know. So it was a beautiful, it was a hard experience, because it was siblings of us hard, because we weren't all the same, we weren't all the same page or all that. And it was hard afterwards. So I don't know, but it hardest on my older sister. So then my father was the same thing, and my in-laws, I stayed with them too, and you know, they had an amazing death. My mother-in-law, they're in their 90s, they got married young, and my mother-in-law had dementia. She was like I say, she had dementia, and she was like, in the last 2 or 3 years, she was nonverbal, and my father-in-law was like really cuts, I mean, he had his reasons, but definitely had his reasons, his life was on, he was injured in the war, he was a prisoner of war, he had traumatic brain injury, but he was like a really hard person to spend any time with, and he was, could be very emotionally abusive, and, but he stepped up to the plate, he took care of her. He took care of those years, and he made sure he had hospice, but he even was very shrewd. And he even like captured the people from hospice. And paid them to come in, luckily he signed this thing, but and we all pitched in, the whole family pitched in, and everybody took turns at different nights, and my husband like worked all through, and it was with my sister-in-law on the night, the day that they were done. It was just my father-in-law was dying, but my mother-in-law had been in hospice for, must have been a year and a half, she was 78 pounds, and she'd be in hospice. And then after those 6 months, they would release her, and then she'd come back in, because they only could do it. And even though she had dementia, she never lost her personality. She was always like this kind, gentle person, and she never lost that. So anyways, the night that I called, it was on that day, and I called hospice and said, they had been there, and I called them back, and we knew he was going. So we were doing like the hospice kit and all the meds. I was doing it with my sister-in-law, and my husband went home. My husband wanted me to go home with her. He was like, can't leave her alone. And he was like, no, it's our turn to go home. I'm like, I can't. She worked in a nursing home as an administrator, but I couldn't leave her. I knew what was coming. Like even though they're like fearless, like she's like a real hard cookie, you know, she's really, really fearless, and she would have done it alone, but I can't leave her. You go home, so he went home. And things were progressing, and then it was really progressing, my father-in-law, who was a fighter, kept trying to stand up. And he, you know, he was dying, he couldn't stand up, he was losing his powers, he was swearing, he was calling for my husband, you know, where was he, where was he? So I was giving him the meds, but it wasn't touching him, he was like, it wasn't touching him at all. So I called the number that you know, so now it's like midnight, I called and meanwhile, Donnie's like saying, give me the syringe, I'll give him more, you know. And even though, you know, it's supposed to, you know, there's a protocol, you know.
Right.
So I called and this beautiful nurse came, Dottie knew her from like the nursing home, her name was Immaculata. And she was beautiful, she was black, and she had these threads, and she was just gorgeous. She came in, she was real calm. And you know, she called and she said, he has to be admitted because we don't have oxygen, you know, he's like, sure, he's gone and we don't have the supporting stuff that he needs. So I said, we had this plan to keep them together as long as we could, my mother and father, they've been married for like 65 years or something. And I said to her, can she go? And she talked to the hospice person and they said, somebody said yes. So the ambulance came, in my mind, and the ambulance was gonna come and take both of them. But of course they didn't, they came and even when he was like going through the corridor of the house, he was saying, attaboy, he was bossing around, you know, be careful, attaboy, that's it, keep on going, boys. So they took him, and then another ambulance came, and they took my mother-in-law, who was tiny, and she never had that kind of personality anyways. So, you know, she went, and then we went to the hospice, and they were so mad because they didn't have a place for her, like the person, it's just serendipity, or it's just whatever you want to call it. They didn't have a place for her, so when she came, they thought my sister-in-law had foisted her upon them, they thought it was her idea. But she got permission, and it was a big to-do, so they were really angry, I didn't get, she got the brunt of it because she had to go into the insurance. But anyways, they both went in, and they kept her in one room. He was fighting it the whole way. We all came, time passed. We're all spending time with them. And then they took her and put her in, he was fighting, like they needed like 2-3 people to hold him down to give him the morphine. And they brought her in and they put both their beds together. And they stayed there. And then everybody was there, but I've been there for like a long time, 36 hours or something. So I went home, we all went home except for my husband. And he said he could hear them talking during the night. And he could hear Helen, and he could hear like my father, my mother said, gee, just Helen, and he, you know, mind you, she hadn't been verbal for a couple of years. He was always verbal, he was always verbal. So anyways, there was a sibling that was kind of troublesome during that time and alienating himself and making a lot of problems. And he came, and I think my mother-in-law was waiting for him to come. And he came, and later on he told us he promised his mother he would not make any more trouble, and he would, you know, would carry the peace in the family. And then my father, she didn't pass, my father-in-law passed. And she didn't pass until 45 minutes until after that. Now, she didn't go in like, I mean, several times she was tiny, but she didn't go in like that. She went in, what did they go, a respite, that's what they ended up getting, you know, I don't know, getting her the finances set for the nursing, for the hospice to accept her as a respite or something. It was unbelievable, it was just unbelievable, and I've had other experiences. Always wanted to do a hospice, but my husband really is fighting, even though he experienced it, and he experienced like the beautiful side, the healing side, and all the right side of it, which I would say my sister did not, because when she was fighting it, my older sister, she thought that hospice just, you know, they don't hire specialists, like they tell you they're gonna be there, but it's really the family, it's whoever that does the work when you have them at home, they come and they go, but you know, other people have to do the work. So she, I mean, I think it's just part of grief that she was really rageful about that. But my husband, he really experienced all the support and the goodness of it. But I don't know, I just intuitively always felt that, like, I spent a lot of time. I was a nurse for a long time, I spent a real long time in labor and delivery and nursery and all that, see a lot of light come and go sometimes at the same time. But I just feel that all of what you said, all of what you said can be. We all know we're dying all the time. I mean, maybe consciously we don't know it, and we block it, but I think like it's native to our experience. So I think that's enough.
Oh, thank you for being here, everyone. I'm gonna be here Monday morning. I know it's Memorial Day, but if you wanna come, I'll be here.
I think this is perfect too, that's great.